Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Jay's Beer Review. Today's beer review is pretty special for me because the beer I'm going to review is the beer that started it all for me. Compared to the beers that I've had since, this beer doesn't hold water to those, but just being the beer that got me to start drinking other types of beers, it will always hold a special place in my heart, even if it's not the greatest beer. Prior to this beer, I never had anything more than just an American domestic light beer, and the most advanced beer I had at that point was a Corona. So this was unique and different for me at the time, and no matter what, I'll always consider this beer a little special to me simply because if it wasn't for this beer, I never would have had the many other great beers like Young's Double Chocolate Stout that I now know about. It started with a buddy of mine. We went out to a restaurant, he asked what beers they had on tap, and they said this beer, and he ordered it, and he told me to try it, and I had it, and I was like, wow, this is unbelievable compared to anything I ever had. Now look where we are today. So, again, it's not the greatest, but it's loyalty to it. So, with further ado, let's show you what this beer is. Today's beer is Michelob Amber Bock. It's a beer that's brewed by the Anheuser-Busch Company out of St. Louis, Missouri. This beer here has a 5.2 alcohol percentage. They use a couple different malts for this beer, which makes it a little bit different than the traditional domestic American beers. It's a dark lager, and it's got a lot more flavor than you're going to find in your typical domestic American beer. As far as the domestic American beer goes, there's not a whole lot or a whole many of them that are much better than this, so this is one of their better ones, even still. But it's still nothing great. As far as glass, for the occasion, I even brought out my Michelob Amber Bock pint glass. Now, traditionally, this type of beer, you would probably want to use a tulip glass, but since I am drinking the Michelob Amber Bock, I figured I'd use the Michelob Amber Bock glass. So, with further ado, let's get reviewing. Now, this beer here, your traditional American beers are like 4.5% alcohol, so this one is a little bit more than what you would traditionally see, but there's nothing really super special as anything beyond alcohol percentage. As far as color goes and body, it's got a amber color to it. I notice in my reviews I'm always saying as you can see, and I try to show you the glass, but you can never see, so it's almost kind of pointless for me to show you at home. That's about the best you're going to get. The head it's got a solid head to it. It's relatively thick, looks kind of creamy. It doesn't look soapy. A soapy head I always kind of, even, if the air bubbles are so massive and it's soapy looking, it's usually not that great, but this is a good mix of like creaminess and carbonation. As far as carbonation goes, I mean, I'm not seeing any carbonation, which I didn't expect anyway. As far as smell, I'm getting a real malty smell to it. Not grainy like your traditional American lagers, but I mean, I know Anheuser-Busch uses rice in every one of their beers they make, and I believe that's more of a preservative, because it's so mass-produced. But it doesn't have a grainy smell to it at all, which is good. We'll go ahead and give this a taste. Again, taste pretty malty. It's got a little bit of caramel flavor to it as well. It's not really potent caramel, but you could tell it's there. It's pretty clean. It's got a pretty clean finish to it. It's nothing great, though. I mean, you can still tell that it's, it's relatively, weak as far as flavor, but it's not completely terrible either. It does kind of have that American, bitter aftertaste, though, which is not the greatest. As far as drinkability, I'm going to say it's more drinkable than Budweiser, but it still doesn't hold water to anything else that I've had that I enjoy, like Fuller's London Porter, or trying to think of even a Bock that I've had that this would compare to. I mean, I would hardly call this a Bock. There's just not much to it. And Bocks are usually real robust and full of flavor, so I'd hardly call this a Bock. But if they want to call this a Bock, then I guess there's more flavor than what you would normally get from a traditional domestic lager. So just isn't the same anymore now that I've had other beer, but I still gotta give my props to it for what it was when I first had it. But I'm gonna go ahead and drink some more of this and get back to you. Well, I'm back, and as you can see, I got a little bit of beer here left, and the head's pretty much dying out, but it's still there, at least something. I mean, it's not completely dead. As I drank more, it just got more and more grainy tasting to me. It's just really not holding up, and I'm just thinking to myself as I drink this, I can't believe this was like my favorite beer for a long time and a while. Again, at the time I had nothing else to compare it to, so maybe that's why it was just different than like Coors Light. That's probably why. And again, like I said, this is what got it started for me as far as drinking craft beer, so I'll always hold a respect for it at that point. But as far as quality beer, it's just not. I mean, is it better than Budweiser? Sure. But how much better? Not a whole lot. I mean, it's probably better than any other domestic American beer, mass-produced domestic American beer that I'm going to drink over the course of my life, but it's just not that great. I wouldn't call it undrinkable because I am able to drink it, but I probably wouldn't even desire to want it. I mean, if I went to someone's house and they had it, I'd drink it, but I wouldn't even be excited about it at all. So, but anyway, I'm going to go ahead and finish this off and give you my final thoughts and grade. Signature move. Chad made a comment about why I do that. Just kind of something I do, just separate my reviews from every other one. So anyway, as far as final thoughts and grade, didn't have much of aroma. It didn't have a really tasty look to it. The head started out looking not bad, but it died so quickly it didn't even sustain long enough to enjoy it. The flavor was really nothing special. I'd actually say below average. On the palate, it started off kind of crisp and clean, but as I drank more of it, it just got real grainy to me. And overall thoughts, it was nothing great. I'm gonna give this a 1.9. I believe up to this point, this may be the beer I ranked the lowest, which is kind of funny that it's considering this is the beer that started all for me. I'm sure there's going to be beers out there that I have that are worse than this, so it's not the worst I've ever had, but 1.9, that's not even an average beer. Anything below a 2, I would even say is a bad beer, so I'm going to say this is a bad beer. I hate to say it, but it is. The beer that started all for me is a bad beer, so. Anyway, till next time, thanks for watching, and check out my website.